Well, let's talk a little bit about the ongoing military buildup off the coast of Iran in the Persian Gulf specifically, because just over the last 24 hours, there's been even more of a military buildup that, to me, indicates that this is more than just a bluff from President Trump. It does look like he is preparing for potentially a sustained military campaign. So, the US has continued this military buildup near Iran, and since the second round of talks took place with the Iranians on February 17th, where unfortunately the Iranians were under the impression that there had been at least a little bit of positivity, maybe some indication that there could be a deal. Now it turns out that no, the US has continued with its ongoing military buildup in preparation for war. So since the second round of talks, the US military has shifted 150 aircraft based in Europe and the Middle East toward this effort in Iran. The current presence of US military forces in the region is among the largest in more than 2 decades since before the Iraq War in 2003. So that was reported by the Washington Post. Now, a third of all active US ships are now in the region. So we're talking about a massive military buildup here. So experts who reviewed the deployment said it was, and this is graphic 5, guys. Deployment said it was surpassed has surpassed the military buildup that was seen before the US strikes against the Iranian nuclear program in June of last year. They said the assets being assembled are indicative of a multi-day campaign without a ground invasion. And let me just be clear, if you hear anyone make the argument that the United States is going to succeed in regime change without any boots on the ground, and you believe it, you happen to be one of the most naive people on the planet. That is literally impossible. We are talking about a country of 92 million people. We are talking about a country 4 times the size of Iraq, if I'm not mistaken,
yep.
With much more, with a much more sophisticated military, that's for sure, far more military capability. And on top of that, despite all of the buildup that we're seeing right now, in the Persian Gulf, the fact of the matter is, China has already agreed to a weapons deal with Iran that I was reading about. This was reported by Reuters, which was shocking. Usually this is the kind of stuff that gets reported by foreign outlets, but it was behind a paywall. Luckily, the Times of India wrote about it. So I want to get to that part because they say the proposed deal involves the Chinese-made CM-302 supersonic anti-ship missiles, which have a reported range of about 290 kilometers and are designed to evade ship-borne defenses by flying low and fast. So 2 weapons experts that were cited by Reuters said that the missiles would significantly boost Iran's ability to target naval assets in the region. And then you even have former Israeli intel weighing on this and how much of an issue this is gonna be, because former Israeli intel officer Danny Sintriowicz says now,
he sounds very native to the Middle East.
I know. This is what he says. It's a complete game changer, meaning Iran obtaining these weapons from China. These missiles are very difficult to intercept. And to that point, one of the warnings from General Kane to Donald Trump is that we have already used up 25% of our missile interceptors, which are much more complicated and time consuming to manufacture, meaning that Iran can build its missiles faster than we can build the interceptors. So just take all of this into consideration. Anyone who's trying to sell this to you is like, we're America, one and done, super easy, not a big deal, real quick strike. That's not what this is gonna be.
Yeah, 100%. So when we were doing the first Iran war or the Venezuela strikes, I was not as certain that we were gonna have disaster because I didn't know what the plan was, right? And I didn't know how quick we were gonna get in and out and where we're gonna have ground troops. And it looked like we weren't gonna have ground troops. In this war, there's no plan other than regime change, and you cannot have regime change without ground troops. They've already brought in tons and tons of troop transport planes. I don't know what's in them, but this is not a war that you could win from the air. And this is let's see if I'm right, but my guess is that this is the first war where we will have significant pushback from the country that we're hitting. What I mean by that is not guerrilla warfare like we had in Afghanistan and Vietnam and Iraq. No, I mean conventional weapons and drones and new weapons doing significant damage to our ships and our planes. We haven't had that in decades. I mean, we haven't had a ship bombed since the Israelis hit the USS Liberty, if I'm not mistaken. And the Israelis had good advanced technology at that point, and they knew it was us. And so the Israelis could murder us. Yes, that's true, but they're theoretically on our side now. So one of our ships hasn't been hit in forever. And with these weapons, there's a really good chance it can get hit. And then what are we gonna do if an aircraft carrier sinks? This whole country is gonna go nuts. And the Israelis are gonna go, yes! A new 9/11 for us to take advantage of. That's it, you have to eliminate all of our enemies and spend trillions of dollars. And by the way, Turkey's next, and our greed knows no bounds, and the permanent war continues.
Yeah, and so, you have to take everything into consideration. I think the most important thing to take into consideration is whether or not this is a war in our interest, whether or not it makes sense for us, a country drowning in $40 trillion in debt, to carry out another costly war, not on our behalf, but on behalf of a foreign country that has taken far too much from the American people already.
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.